Last year, I built this tree house. And this year, I built this cool covered patio area, for hanging out and stuff. But then I had a thought. There's a big gap in between this and the tree house, and there's all that wasted space. Come here, follow me over here. So I've started thinking about what should I do in this big blank space to kind of connect the playground, treehouse area with the back patio of our house. Now, this is going to be a big project because when I start planning something, I tend to go a little overboard and things get out of hand and it just gets bigger and bigger. Here's kind of what I'm thinking for this space. There's just one little problem with that design. There's no place for this tree. And I really like this tree. Well, just made it rain on myself. I planted this tree 4 or 5 years ago. It was only like this big. And I've watched it grow, and every fall it turns bright red and the leaves go to the ground, and I get to judge the seasons by how the tree's doing, and I really don't want to cut it down. But I was okay with cutting it down because I knew the new space is going to be way cooler than just having this tree here. But that's when Craig did a little searching online, and he found out that there's actually a company that will come out and transplant a fully grown tree. Well, not fully grown, but a big tree like this one. So this video is really not about me building anything. I just think this is going to be a really cool process because I've never seen anybody move a giant tree like this, and we thought we'd share it with you. So let's sit back and watch the professionals do their thing. If they kill this tree, I'm going to kill them. That's too far. I'm not gonna do that. Maybe we should cut that part. I'm not gonna say that. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is probably really expensive, but it's really not as bad as you think. Full transparency, this is gonna cost $2,500 to move this tree from here over right where that guy's standing. Now, $2,500 does seem like a lot of money, but when you think of how long that tree has been planted and how long it would take to get a tree from this big to that size, I think it's worth the investment. I hate cutting down trees, and I would much rather move one if we can. With that thing, I mean, look at that. It's a giant spade that is going to scoop up a huge section of earth and move the entire tree. This is gonna be fun to watch.
Now I have to say, humans are pretty darn amazing. I mean, you go back in history and at some point some person was like, hey, look at this round thing I made. It makes things roll. This is cool, huh? And then you just fast forward a little bit and some guy was like, hey, I'm gonna construct this gigantic machine that scoops trees out of the depths of the earth. All I can say is that if Saruman had one of these in Lord of the Rings, he would have made so many more orcs. They should have invented it a little bit sooner. Anyways, this company showed up with this cool piece of equipment and they got to work. Now it's got this flat plate in the middle that eventually will go around a tree. The first thing they had to do though before scooping up the other tree was they had to dig a hole to place the tree that they were going to scoop up. So we picked out a spot that we wanted the tree to be moved to and they started digging. Now this is all this company does. Day in, day out, they just go around moving trees, planting mature trees. The way it works is these spades get pushed into the earth until they come together and they scoop out this perfect cone-shaped piece of dirt. Now the spades are sprayed with water constantly so it gets a nice smooth cut. Once they scoop out a big, chunk, then they go dump it and now they have a hole to put the tree into. The real crazy thing is talking with these guys, this isn't even a very big tree that they're moving. They actually brought their small piece of equipment. They said they have a much bigger one for much bigger trees. And I was like, what's the biggest tree you've ever moved? And they were like, oh, we moved this giant oak tree for Amazon one time. Cost like $70,000. No big deal. But then right after saying that, they said we can't put the dirt from the hole we just dug into the new hole because we have to empty out our spade to dig out the tree. So you're going to have to do that by hand. And I was like, you guys are moving trees for Amazon and you can't replace the dirt in the hole you just dug? Something here doesn't add up. So yeah, I guess there's going to be a lot of shoveling in my future.
Hey, this video is sponsored by AG1. Now it's the new year and everybody knows what that means, New Year's resolutions. But instead of trying to set some unrealistic goal like running 26 miles every other day, why don't you try and set a realistic goal? One goal that I set a few years ago was adding AG1 to my daily routine. And I gotta tell you, this is a kind of cheating one because it's not hard to do. They make it really easy. All you do is mix a little powder with some water, drink it once a day, and it tastes good. Now you might be saying, but why AG1? What's it gonna do for me? Well, it's got a lot of benefits. Energy, immune support, better focus. But here's one you might not have thought about, gut health. Did you realize that 95% of serotonin, the neurotransmitter that's involved in mood, and 70% of the immune system is found in your gut? You see, AG1 fosters gut microbiome health and encourages proper digestion. So this is what I do. Every morning when I wake up, one of the first things that crosses my mind is, ooh, have I had my AG1 today? You just take one scoop, you mix it in 8 to 12 ounces of water like that. Now, AG1 doesn't have any artificial flavors or sweeteners, so it actually tastes pretty good. There's a subtle hint of pineapple and vanilla, which is delicious. So here's what you're gonna wanna do. Go to drinkag1.com/bourbonmoth, or you can scan the QR code that's hovering somewhere around my face, and you're gonna get $20 off your first subscription of AG1, which is a pretty sweet deal. Big thanks to AG1 for sponsoring this video. Now, go do something with your year. Like climb a mountain or swim across something, just don't die.
Now, once they emptied out the dirt from the previous hole they dug, the spade opens up so that it can get around the tree, which is pretty sweet. But then as it closes around the tree, they have to be very careful not to break off any of the branches. So the spade has these kind of ladder things on the side of each one of the little units, so a guy can climb up and kind of fold the branches in as it closes around the tree. Now, it's very important that they get the tree dead center in the middle of the spade so that when they go to place it, it all lines up right. Once they had the entire spade closed around the tree, then they basically do the exact same thing they just did digging the first hole, but this time there's a giant tree in the middle. So slowly but surely those spades start to dig under the tree. Now, yes, it does cut any roots that extend out farther than the size of the spade, but they have a 90% survival rate on the trees they dig out, which, well, it either means they're really good or that trees are just really flippin' amazing. I like to think it's probably a mix of a little of both. Once they have the tree dug out, the entire thing tilts back onto the bed of the truck. Now, this is more if they have to transplant it a long ways away so that it doesn't get snagged on power lines or helicopters flying by or, whack birds in the face. But in our case, they just had to move it a few hundred yards. Then it was on to the hole that they dug to start with. They back up, they get everything positioned, and then they tilt the entire tree back up. Now, they know it's going to be a perfect fit because they're using the exact same equipment that they dug the hole with to fill in the hole with a tree. So they just insert the spade back into the hole and basically do the entire process in reverse. Now, they did fiddle around with this for quite a long time because they wanted to make sure that the tree was perfectly straight up and down. Because as soon as they put that tree in the hole, it's kind of where it's going to be. So they wanted to make sure it wasn't tilted, which I appreciate. Then slowly they just remove the spades, unwrap them from around the tree, being very careful not to break any branches, and back away. And that was it. One tree moved from one location to another. It's crazy what you can do when you have the right equipment. And I might have mentioned it before, but this company doesn't just move trees, they also plant mature trees. So if you want a big tree on your property and you don't want to have to wait for it to grow, you just call them, they'll bring in a big tree on the back of a truck and boom, new tree installed. Which is, well, really good for those impatient people out there.
Well, that was pretty crazy. I mean, there used to be a tree right here. How am I going to get out of this? And now we've got a tree right here. You know, some things I'm fully on board for doing yourself, rolling up your sleeves, getting sweaty, getting dirty, and getting the job done. But moving a gigantic tree is not one of them. I didn't even know that you could hire somebody to transplant a big tree like that. But now I do, and so do you. So if you want a tree moved, well, have those people do it. And don't fall in the hole.